I purchased the C8 style VLAND taillights for 5th gen Camaros because I like the style. I wanted to modernize the car a little bit. I like the 5th gen. I think it's a more aggressive look, but I wanted to make the car look a little more modern. I feel like the taillights and the headlights were a little dated, so it's a nice improvement to the car. So basically, I like the taillights, and I really like the what I'll call the chevron portion that lights up, the red parts that look like a check in the taillights. That's the coolest part of the taillights. Problem is they light up whenever your running lights are on, so when your headlights are on at night, but in the daytime they never come on. They don't come on for brakes or anything else. So I felt like I wanted those lights to light up in the day as well. So I thought about hooking up to a constant power so they were just on anytime the car was on, but I didn't think that was the way to go either. So then I thought, well, how about if I have the lights light up with the brake lights? So the way the lights come, I'll call them chevron lights, are only on as a running light, only at night, as illustrated in this picture. And then your brake lights are the two straight strips more towards the top that just light up. They're nice and bright, they work well, but they're kind of boring looking. They're just plain. And then the inner of the two red lights, brake lights, is a dual purpose light. So when you put it in reverse, they go from red to white and perform the reverse light function, which that is a pretty cool effect. And then the turn signal is just the brake lights flashing, so the same two lights. But again, like I said, the chevrons don't come on in the day, which I found disappointing. So here's a picture of what they look like with the chevrons lit, and that's the coolest part of the taillights, in my opinion. This graphic shows how they light up. So you can see here is an illustration of the connection into the headlight. Like I said, it has the 4 pins going in, the black common negative, the red, which is the brake light and turn signal combined, green, which is the running light, which lights up the chevrons, and white, which is the reverse lights. This is what the wiring harness looks like once you get the tape off as it comes. So this is the adapter that goes between the 5th gen style plug and the taillight itself assembly. So this does a couple things besides interface the two types of connections. It combines the turn signal and brake light into one wire, because from the factory harness, it's 2 separate wires. So potentially the taillight could have a separate amber turn signal and a separate brake light. But the VLAND, the C8 style Corvette, doesn't do it that way. It uses the combined brake light, turn light. So I cut the green wire in half and put a diode in so that voltage will only flow in one direction. If you try to supply voltage to that wire to light up the taillights, it's also going to backfeed the other direction down the wire and backfeed everything else in the car on the running light circuit. So we don't want to do that. So the diode will allow the voltage to flow into the taillight, but won't allow voltage to flow backward and backfeed into the car. And then I soldered it onto the already splice that existed for the red wires for the brake lights. So that would also feed voltage onto the green wire that leads into the taillights. So with that completed, anytime the running lights are on, the chevrons will be lit solid. And anytime you brake, if the chevrons aren't on from running lights, then they will light with the brake light. So here's a demonstration on my vehicle of how they function. So with the lights off, of course, everything is off. When you apply the brakes, everything comes on, including the chevrons. With the turn signals on, the chevrons don't flash. They remain as brake lights, which I thought was a better way to do it. Again, everything off. They're off with the brake lights. With running lights on, they come on and stay on as you would expect. They don't operate with the braking as before. And when you put it in reverse, they function as you would expect. They come on with the brakes and light. So I thought this was a nice improvement on the taillights. They're not very cheap. You spend the money for them, you want them to look nice, and I thought having the chevrons light up in the daytime as well was an improvement. These are the resistors I use for this application. Picked them up at Amazon. Real cheap. They're a little bit oversized, but they get the job done just fine. If If you have any questions, comment below and I'll try to respond. Thank you.